Hello, hi friends. This is Patty Bennett. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I am excited because I get to share and craft with you today. We're going to be talking about Wink of Stella. And I know this might look like a pretty eclectic, odd group of cards, but I'm going to show you my favorite 3 ways that I love to use Wink of Stella. And so in doing that, I will be sharing several different cards, different ideas, different techniques, and the cards themselves don't have anything to do with each other, but they all feature the Wink of Stella. And so we're going to be going over tips, several, let's see, I have, I don't know, about 8 or so cards here to show you. And then we are going to be actually using the Wink of Stella and ink and stamps and dies, and I will be showing you my favorite ways to use it. So hello, hi Jamie, Jen, Keisha, Dawn, welcome. If you're just tuning in on the live, it will be Friday, October 22nd, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're watching a replay, that's fabulous as well. But either way, if you could just say hi, let me know that you're here. I would love to know that you're watching. Hi, Christine. Yes, Jen, I do love Wink as well. Hi, Donna and Linda and Tracy. How are you all? Hi, Jean. So I'm just going to spend about 30 seconds to let everybody find the live if you are watching live. So if you're watching a replay on my blog or YouTube channel or even on Facebook, skip ahead just a little bit because I don't want you to have to just wait for all the good stamping stuff. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Patty Bennett. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. What did I say something? Did I say October 23rd? I meant 27th. If I said the wrong thing, I apologize. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I love to blog and share my projects at pattystamps.com. You are going to see all of these projects that we create today on my blog on the 28th, the 29th. Did I also do some on the 30th? I think I spread them out because I have so many projects. So you're welcome to check back on my blog throughout the weekend, or, maybe you're watching a replay weeks or months later, that's fine as well. But just letting you know where you will be able to find the projects. Hello, Diane and Anne and Colleen, Jill, Pat, Robin, Shan, Judy, Rose, Donna, Lynn. Hey, everybody. So I'm sorry if I did say the wrong date originally. I apologize. Today is October 27th, and that is the live date. So you might be watching live or a replay. If you're just joining, today we are talking about Wink of Stella. And probably a lot of you already have this. You might have it and not quite know how to use it. You might be wondering if you can refill it. You might be wondering about all the different ways you can use it. So that's what we're talking about today. I love Wink of Stella. I just think it is a fabulously fun tool. And the 3 main ways I am going to show you today that I like to use it is, and I don't even know if this shows up much on the camera, but I have flicked it on the background. So you might see these pretty little speckly dots in the background. So that's one way that I love to use it. It's a very basic way to use it, but it adds a lot of beauty and impact to your project. So that's the first way. The second way is that after you stamp and color an image, you take the Wink of Stella and you color it on top of, I guess I could say you paint it on top of your colored images. Again, not sure if it shows, but if you've used it, you know what I mean. You know how beautiful it is just to add a little sparkle to your colored images. And then the third way that I love to use it is to actually use it as a paintbrush with some ink And I don't know if you can see how sparkly these trees are, but I have colored them by dipping my Wink of Stella into some ink, sort of like I would watercolor, but you're basically coloring with Wink of Stella. And I've done the same thing on this background die. So all of these leaves from the gorgeous garden, I think it's called, all of those are painted with Wink of Stella and ink. So we're going to go over those 3 ways, and I want to just show you how fun all of these techniques are for using Wink of Stella. I do have a really funny story for you, though. So when Wink of Stella was first introduced in the Stampin' Up world, I believe it was, I don't know, somewhere around like what? Well, I don't even know what year, so I'm not going to guess. But I remember that I was at a Founders Circle event, which used to be an event that Stampin' Up gave as an incentive and as a reward for the top 100 demonstrators in Stampin' Up. Okay, so here we are in St. George, Utah for this event, and I'm sitting around with these other top demonstrators, and they gave us projects to work on, and they gave us all a brand new Wink of Stella, and I don't even remember what the project was. I just pulled out this older image because it's just something I had sitting in a box over here of images that I didn't use. But we had an image, we were coloring the image, and then the instructions were to add Wink of Stella on top of the image. Okay, so we all took it out of the package, and I think it said to shake it, or somebody said to shake it, and so we're shaking it, and I'm not going to do it too much on camera because I don't want to make you dizzy. And then it said to squeeze it, so we're squeezing it, and we're squeezing it, and we're like, I don't know, it's pretty clear, I'm not seeing anything. And so we're doing this, we're like, I don't know, I don't see anything. Do you guys see anything? No, I don't see anything. So we're all kind of perplexed. And then somebody said, oh, you have to take the black ring off. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how to do that. Finally, somebody realizes, okay, you unscrew it, you take the ring off. Okay, oh, okay, good. Well, good. I'm glad somebody read the instructions. So then I'm going to shake it off camera because I don't want to make you dizzy. Okay, so we're shaking and shaking and shaking and shaking. You can kind of hear it. It sounds like nail polish, like there's a little ball or something in there, right? So I'm just shaking it off camera. I don't want to make you dizzy. Okay, so we're shaking it. And so then it says to squeeze it. So we're squeezing it and we're squeezing it. Like, okay, nothing's happening. I don't know. Does everybody have a defective one? We're not sure, like what's going on. And so we're squeezing it and we're squeezing it. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is this stuff? How do we make this work? And we're all just looking at each other. Okay, we're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. So does this sound familiar? Do any of you have a Wink of Stella and you're thinking, I don't know, how do I make this work? How does this work? I'm squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And you're just not sure about it. And maybe you gave up. Okay, I wouldn't blame you because it takes a while. And then all of a sudden, look, we're seeing, oh, there's something happening. So we were all getting really excited. Okay, we're squeezing and squeezing. Oh my goodness. Okay, squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. Squeezing and squeezing. And then we're like, okay, I don't know, nothing's happening. We're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But none of us knew what to do with it. Okay, so now, oh, look, we're getting a bunch of, okay, and we're squeezing and, oh my goodness, okay, squeezing. We're trying to make this thing work. All of us are doing the same thing. Oh, look, it's all coming out. Okay. All right, so we're squeezing and we're thinking, oh, it's got to be working. And so, oh, look, okay. So we're squeezing and we've got all this Wink of Stella all over our image. And some of us, and in fact, I remember well, got like this really big blob and we're thinking, wow, oh, okay, wow. Well, all right. Okay. So that was our first experience with Wink of Stella. And if I hold this up and show you, you'll be able to see there is a lot of Wink of Stella on there because we just really didn't know what to do with it. Well, it turns out that when you have an image, so I've colored, stamped and colored with the Joy of Noel using my Stampin' Blends. What you really want to do is squeeze it over here on your scrap paper and just sort of get the tip saturated. And then you kind of need to wipe some off because there's a lot at the tip. And then you just kind of gently go over your colored area that you want to have some glimmer. And there you go. That is, to me, like #1 easy way to use Wink of Stella. But do you see all of this up here? If I would have just kept squeezing and it would have blobbed all over, it just would have obliterated. But this way you just get a really beautiful, soft, shimmery addition to your image. So that's the #1 way that I probably use Wink of Stella. And I will put this card together for you at the end. So if you want to hang out and see some card assembly and hear about the products that I use, we're going to put this together. But first, I just want to go through the 3 main ways that I like to use Wink of Stella. So that would be one way. And then the second is what I showed you here. And again, I know I apologize that it is probably difficult to see on camera, but when I'm done with a project, or in this case, when I was done with my snowflake background, here is my #2 way that I love to use Wink of Stella. And that is to shake it and squeeze it, get it kind of primed so that I have some here in the tip. And then I just put it in the lid and I flick downward. And what it's doing is it is putting hundreds of beautiful little speckles that are shimmery on the background of my card. And in this case, yes, of course, I got it on the greeting because I did it when I was done. But in person, this looks like you used some beautiful shimmery paper when in fact I just started with basic white cardstock, used my blending brushes to put color in the background, used the Abundant Beauty masks for some of the snowflakes, and I used the, now I can't think of the exact name, but it's the new snowflake stamp set to add other snowflakes. And so that was my background, and then flicking both with my Stampin' Blend marker and with my Wink of Stella. So that is my #2 way that I love to use it. And let me just show you. Here are a couple of other ideas. Oh, by the way, just want to give credit. This was inspired by my downline, Joanne Hewins. She did something very similar on a video and I loved the background. And so I kind of took her idea, changed it up just a little bit, but it was definitely inspired by Joanne. So thank you, Joanne. And this one was actually designed by Kirsten Del Rosario. We just co-hosted a holiday soiree a couple weekends ago. This was one of the cards. Can you see the beautiful shimmers in the background of the pecan pie cardstock? So this cardstock was crinkled up. We smashed it up in our hand, flattened it back out. We sprinkled it with the Wink of Stella, just like I showed you, by flicking like this. We also flicked with our pecan pie marker. You can do the exact same thing with any marker. So if you just go like this, it will put speckles onto your background or your project. And then it was smoothed back out and added to the pecan pie card base and the oxidized, oxidized copper paper. I think that's what that's called. Die cut with the leaves. So again, there's another background. So there were two background ideas with the flicking. And then this one was also inspired by Kirsten. She did a card similar to this for our event, and it's flicked in the background here, which really picks up the beautiful glimmer paper. So that's kind of a fun idea when you have something that's already kind of glimmery and then you add more glimmer. That's really fun. So those are three ideas with flicking in the background. Okay, so we colored an image. Well, we colored the image, but then we added Wink of Stella to a colored image. We flicked in the background, and then this one is something I actually did probably, I meant to look and I forgot to look. I bet it was about 10 or 12 years ago on one of my first videos, and I used some watercolor paper and I colored on it. And I was reminded of this by this project, which we did at the soiree. Kirsten designed this. We die cut the wreaths out of watercolor paper, and then we colored them with our Wink of Stella pen and ink. So I'm going to show you how I did that on the trees, and I'll go into some detail about these cards. Give me just a minute here. I want to catch up. I don't know if there were any questions. Thank you, Jamie. She loves the snowflake card. Oh, thank you. I'm glad, Lisa. I'm glad you like the forest card. Yeah, I'm going to show you how I did that. Right, Esther. Yep, the blop. Yeah, we want to definitely avoid the blop. That's a good word for it. Yes. So Gianna's saying that she will use a clear block to do the squeezing, and then you can pick up the color on, or the Wink of Stella off of that. I have kind of found that it stains. I guess that's the right word for it. Like, I can never really get this all off. So if you do that, I would suggest just have a clear block that you basically only use for that purpose. Unless if one of you has the secret to getting all of the Wink of Stella off of a clear block, let me know. But I'll show you what I do in a minute when we do this one. I'm just going to catch up on the comments. And does it ruin the tip of your blend doing the flicking? Okay, so that's a good question. I was showing you about flicking with your Stampin' Blend. It really doesn't ruin the tip. Of course, it's using the tip. You're using it, which in my mind, I want to use my supplies, right? I want to find ways to use them. But I will tell you, the reason that I do use a Stampin' Blend for, again, if you missed that, if you're just tuning in, I was showing that you can do this and you can flick and you can get a speckled design. The reason I do use a blend instead of my actual regular Stampin' Write markers is because with Stampin' Write markers, you have to replace the whole set of 10. That's expensive if it wears down your tip. With these, you're only replacing the pair for $9. So as you're using your supplies, this is a consumable item, right? You're coloring with it. You're coloring your embellishments. You're flicking with it. You're doing all sorts of techniques with your Stampin' Blends. They are going to wear out. It's a fact of life. So yes, it probably does contribute to the wear and tear. But on the other hand, it's a consumable item. It's $9. It's not expensive. And it's just, I expect wear and tear. So I don't know if I actually answered your question, but yes, it will eventually use your tip up. You can always, if you start to get a tip maybe that starts to fray, then you would use that for flicking and you would use your other tip for coloring. So there's an alternative as well, but that's a great question. Let's see. Yes, watercolor pencils is another way that I've used it. I have used that very often. That's a great reminder, Glenna. Oh, hi, Kathy. Glad you're joining live as well. Okay, Shan uses alcohol wipes to clean the block. I don't know. I have really not been able to completely get a block clean once I do that. So let me show you what I do. So to color on, you don't have to use watercolor paper, but I like to use watercolor paper to do this technique. So let's just say to color on watercolor paper, as if you were watercoloring with your Wink of Stella. Let me show you what I do. So for the trees, I just have this piece of acetate, and this is actually the piece when you open up your stamp set, your new photopolymer stamp set, you peel off this, see it's kind of flimsy, you peel that off. Well, I keep them, and this is what I use it for. So I will take my ink pad, and I dab it onto that plastic, and this becomes my palette. I will use it for several projects, and then I will just throw it away. So that's what I do with it. And I will get out from Forever Forest. I die cut a couple of extra trees so that I could demonstrate this for you. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trees that have this design, shall we say. There are outline die cuts for the stamp set, and there's also this mountain and some rocks and clouds, a moon, and stars. So lots of pieces in the Forever Forest die set. I have used 4 of the trees to make this card, and I'll kind of show you the details there. But let's color the tree first so I can show you this fun technique if you've never done it. So again, I'm going to shake it off camera because I don't want to make you dizzy. But you shake up your pen and you squeeze to get the Wink of Stella. You'll see it coming down the barrel. You squeeze it to get it to come to the tip. And then you just swirl it in the ink. And I'm using this as my palette. And then I like this best when it's kind of haphazardly colored. Because if you look at a tree, you are not going to see a solid one color of green. You're going to see lots of color, right, in your tree. Lights, darks, different shades of green. For this, I don't even care about wiping off the color. I am just going to squeeze again, and I am going to go straight to another shade of green. So let's see, my palette should have shown you the colors. Please hold. I just picked Shaded Spruce, Garden Green, and Granny Apple Green because I felt like those were probably 3 green colors that would exist together in nature. So I'm going to pick up a darker and just kind of dab the color. And then let's go to our darkest, which is the Shaded Spruce. And oh, that's pretty dark. Let me just dab some off here. This adds kind of a cooler green color. I'm going to go kind of up the trunk onto the edges. And then I'm going to come back for the final coat. I don't know, is that the right word? With my Granny Apple Green, because that's just kind of my favorite. Fill in. So I think it was Esther that was saying about using the clear block. So this is the exact same idea over here with my palette. And you can use a window sheet, you can use a Ziploc baggie, you can use a clear envelope, you can use anything plasticky that's not porous. And you can keep this if you want to. I would do lots of trees and then I would just throw that away. For me, no need to really keep it forever and ever. But then you have all these different greens and it's beautiful and it's glimmery and it's just gorgeous. And you can keep adding color to it. You could do fall colored trees. Well, I think this is an evergreen, so maybe not with that dye. I probably wouldn't do fall, but you get the idea, right? Does the color remain on the top of Wink? Do you mean the tip? You just wipe it off. You could dab it in a tiny bit of water, but if you just squeeze it and wipe it off, you can see I don't have any more green. So that's all you need to do if you wanted to like go to red or some other totally different color. I think that's probably what you mean. Let's see. No, Lila, I used these dies that I was showing. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different dies from Forever Forest, and that's what I die cut my trees with. Let's see. Did you say yes? I showed how I got the ink on the acetate. I showed that I took my ink pad and I'll do it up here so you can see it. And I just dab it on like that. And you can add as much or as little ink as you think you might need for your project. I think we might have people tuning in late here. Let's see. What else were the questions? Thank you, Shan. I'm glad you like the trees. Okay, let's see. Oh, good. Polly said she's been keeping those flimsy pieces of plastic. Now she knows what to do with them. Yay! That's fun, right? I know. I keep things like that too, and then I'm so happy when I find a use. So when you're not using your Wink of Stella, of course, put your cap back on. The older ones came with a white cap. The newer ones have a clear cap. That brings me to a tip. Let me give you a tip before we go on to finishing these projects. So when you're using your Wink of Stella, so you can tell this is an old one. This is what reminded me to tell you. You may squeeze and squeeze and nothing's coming out. You think, okay, well, it's done. I'll throw it away. So let me show you how I refill it to get a little extra mileage, shall we say, out of my pen. So I unscrew it. And then you have this black piece. And it is, let's call it a stopper. I'm not really sure what the perfect name would be. I have an old pair of tweezers at my craft desk. And so I just loosen it and I lift it up. Sorry, there we go. I lift it up and I take it out. And in this bottle, you can see I've labeled it rubbing alcohol. I have rubbing alcohol. This is a hair color applicator. You can get it at a beauty supply store. If you have Sally Beauty by you, that's where I got these. They're very inexpensive. Just make sure you label it. You don't ever want someone to grab this and think that it's water or something to drink. Okay, so make sure you label it if you put rubbing alcohol in it. And I like it because of this tip. See how fine that tip is? And I just put it in here. I give it a little squeeze and I might fill it like maybe 2/3-ish of rubbing alcohol. And then I can put this back in, just push down, screw this back on, shake it up. And I've got I don't know, depending on how much you use it, at least a month or two more of use out of my Wink of Stella. Now, probably from a sales standpoint, I shouldn't tell you that because Stampin' Up! Would love it if you keep ordering these. But just from a helpful standpoint, I think it's nice to know that you can do that. Now, you can't keep filling it forever and ever because eventually you're not going to have any more glimmer. This is going to get lighter and lighter as far as the glimmer. Gasket. Thank you, Robin. That is a great word. It'll get like clearer and clearer and you won't have as much glimmer. But for a while, you can definitely refill it. And then I had this sort of this system where I would take a Sharpie and I would do a dot on here so that I knew that I had already refilled it once. And then like by time 2 or 3 of refilling it, then you just need to toss it and get a new one. So there's your tip on that. And yes, I saw somebody ask if this was watercolor paper. Yes, I did mention that these were die cut with watercolor paper. You don't have to use watercolor paper. To me, I just think it turns out better with the watercolor paper. So up to you. You can experiment with, I would use thick basic white. You can experiment with whatever you would like. So let me set this aside just so I don't put my hand or something in it. By the way, if you're looking for Wink of Stella, page 137 in the current catalog, number 13, Wink of Stella Clear Glitter Brush. That's where you will find it, 141897. If you do not already shop with a demonstrator, you can use my shopping link, pattystamps.com/shop, and you can get Wink of Stella there. All right, so now let's go back to this card and I'll show you some tips of what I did to assemble this card. I know this is like the weirdest ever, right? Weirdest ever thing. But I'll show you what this was. I used, was it 2 weeks ago we used this Meandering Meadow paper. This is new, coming November 7th to customers. And we used these beautiful designs in some cards. But if you look at the back, well, here's that one I used. You'll see that there are some plain type patterns. And so on the front of the card, let me see if I can flip through here and find the one that I actually, was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. So on the front of the card, I used this piece because I loved these clouds. I wanted to have that as my background. I did want a little of this purple to peek through. So a little of the purple peeks through there. And then I used the mountain die in the Forever Forest. So it's this one. And I just started randomly die cutting on this piece. And I'm really not sure why I chose this piece. It's kind of odd, dare I say. But I thought it made some really interesting looking hills. And I did use my blending brush with pecan pie ink to swirl on to some of them. So you can see this is darker, this is darker. I like when I layer these pieces that you get lights and darks. And that is what I did for the background. So it's just 3 or 4 layers of those mountains that I layered onto there. Of course, cut this off. And then those beautiful trees I just layered on. And if you're thinking, well, that is sort of an odd sentiment for this card, let me tell you why I did it. Because many of you know, my dad was a watercolor artist in addition to being an architect. And he loved to paint nature scenes, skies, hills, mountains, trees, waterfalls. Yosemite was like his favorite place, one of his favorite places to paint. He also loved to paint from Hawaii. But this background totally reminded me of my dad, and my thoughts of him make me smile. He did pass away a couple years ago, so if you're thinking like, why are you talking about him in the past tense? That's why. But thoughts of my dad make me smile, and this card reminds me of something that he would have painted. Now, his painting would be a billion times more beautiful than this. So I'm not comparing my stamped work to his, but just saying the sky reminded me of him, and that's why I chose that. And so I actually had this like weird thought, oh, I'll send this to my dad. And then you know how reality sets in and you're like, oh yeah, I can't do that. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe that was neither here nor there. So again, Forever Forest, this is in the holiday catalog. It is a bundle. You can get the stamp set to go with it if you want to. I think I have it handy. Let me just, yeah, it's right here. So if you wanted to stamp and die cut, you totally can. But for this particular card, I just die cut the trees and colored them with the method that I just showed you. So that is Forever Forest and that method of coloring. I did the same coloring technique, I guess we would say, with this one. So this is half of the Gorgeous Garden die set. There are 2 different dies. I die cut it with watercolor paper, and I can just show you quickly. Don't have to do the whole thing because I know you get the idea, right? This was my flimsy plastic with my puddles of color. I used cherry cobbler, pumpkin pie, old olive, and wild wheat. And again, pretty much just that same exact technique. I was trying to think of the word. Sometimes words are hard. Those of you who do live videos or any videos, you know, sometimes words are just difficult, right? Isn't it odd how sometimes we just can't think of the word? Wendy is asking where I get the magnet sheets. Yes, they are 6 inches by 7 inches, as well as these plastic sleeves. They are from Stampin' Storage, and there are links on my blog. If you go to pattystamps.com, up at the top, there's a link that says My Craft Room, and there are about 20 different links for all of the supplies like this, or my ink pad holders, my paper holders, all those things that I use. All of the links are there. So again, pattystamps.com, and up at the top, there is a tab that says My Craft Room, and then on that tab, you'll find all of the links. Okay, so back to this. So we've squeezed, we have a little bit of ink, or not ink, we have Wink of Stella on the tip of our brush, and we're just going to swirl it into the color. And I think, hang on, yeah, there we go. I need a little more because that was going to be a really saturated color. And then you just simply paint right onto your watercolor paper. And as with any watercoloring that you might do, when you first start, it's darker. The more you keep painting, the lighter it gets. So do you see how we've got some darker cobbler and then it fades? So then I just went into another color, didn't even clean it off. You can even kind of mix them. And then you just start coloring your next color. And I just kept going like that and just alternating through those 4 colors and came up with that background, put it onto white, and then added the die cuts from a new fall leaf set in the holiday mini catalog. This die is in the annual if you're looking for that. I've done lots of videos with this die because truly it is one of my very favorite things in the annual catalog, but I made it into a fall birthday card. So that is that same technique as we did with the tree, but just sort of a different way and different colors. And I'll finish that one up later. So let me gently move that out of the way. Oh, you're so sweet. Kathy says, my dad would be proud of my inherited trait of creativity. Thank you. Oh, send it to my brother. Mary, thank you. I am going to do that with this card. I am going to send it to my brother, and I'll tell him the story of why I chose that greeting. Thank you. Robin loves the variegated colors on the mountains as well. Thank you. Oh, Anne says they look like the Sandia Mountains in New Mexico. I have never seen those, but I bet that is beautiful. Yep, Southern Utah Shan. Yep, yep, yep. Okay. Oh, Colleen says, did I use 91% alcohol when I was showing you the tip about refilling? I don't honestly remember what's in this, but since I do use the 91% alcohol for other things in my craft room, I'm going to guess, yes, that's what this is. But I do think that I've used both, and I don't think I notice a difference. So good question, and I'm sorry I cannot 100% answer that. Okay, so those are the 3 ways. And we're going to put that card together, so don't go yet if you want to hang out a minute. But the first thing I showed you was flicking on the background, so that's how you get these beautiful little speckles. I hope you can see those. Can you see them? I hope that they show. The beautiful speckles in the background, so that was the first way that we talked about. The second way was to paint onto a colored image. So we're going to finish that up and make a card. And it was just this image from Joy of Noel. And yes, I stamped this in shaded spruce and colored it with the Stampin' Blends. And you can do that. It does not have to be black. So colored that, added the Wink of Stella. So that's another way to use it. And then the third way that I showed you was to die cut watercolor paper and color your image with ink and Wink of Stella. Oh, good, it shows. Yes, thank you, everybody. I'm glad that you can see that. So glad. So let's just put this card together so I can show you. I had quite the time deciding. I made several, as you can see, and I couldn't decide what ribbon I wanted to use on these cards. It's basically the same card. And I decided, I think in the end, that this was my favorite. This is the silver edged sheer ribbon. And wouldn't you know, I checked this morning and this is on back order until the middle of November. So just put it on your wish list. In the online store, you can keep a wish list. It's 162149. Add it to your wish list so that when it becomes available, you can get it. I think this is a super beautiful complement to this card. I have used a little greeting. What is this from? Is this from, yes, it's from Merriest Trees. Love and Joy. This is from Joy of Noel. So I colored that on a contour scalloped die. I have white cardstock, 2 pieces of that. I have the tartan foil plaid in the Lost Lagoon. So both sides. And then Lost Lagoon cardstock. So I'll just show you quickly. This you probably can guess. You probably don't need a tutorial on this. Let's see. Do you want to see me color this? Or, I mean, I'm happy to do it. But if you want to get going, I understand. So just let me know in the comments. Do you want to color this together, or should we just assemble? Yes, Carrie, that silver edge ribbon is so beautiful, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, good. Lisa likes the sheer ribbon the best. Oh, yes. Okay, color. Okay, let's color. So let me just get a clean sheet here. I only used a couple of colors on this, not much. So let me grab, I had them here because I was making all these cards. And I just put my finger in that Wink of Stella. So hang on one second. Let me grab a baby wipe. Oh, so I just thought of something really funny. I have done this before, and I kind of hesitate to recommend it because I don't want anybody to say, oh, it ruined my manicure. But I have accidentally gotten Wink of Stella flicked on my nails, and it actually looks really pretty. I'm not sure that I would like actually paint them, but if you get some flicked on there, it does look really pretty. So let's say try that at your own risk. But it does look really pretty. I just have to tell you. Okay. So the first thing I did was I used, I think this is light pool party, and I just gave barely a hint of color on this piece of greenery and a couple of the stems. So that was the first thing. And it's just like barely, that was barely any color. And then, oh wait, I need, pretty peacock is what I needed to grab. Okay. And then I took my light Lost Lagoon and I colored in kind of haphazardly. I didn't want these to be absolutely perfectly colored. I wanted this kind of a loose, almost like if they were watercolored. So I'm just kind of squiggly coloring. Light Lost Lagoon. Did I get them all? I think I got them all. Then dark Lost Lagoon. I'm just going to do some kind of shading. Not much, just a little. And then, I don't think it matters. This is light peacock. You could use light or dark. And I just did a little bit of shading with that. Just a little. And again, this is just a very loose, just loose. That's a good word for it. And then any red that you have, I'm using Poppy Parade. You can use real red, sweet sorbet, cherry cobbler, any red that you'd like. A little bit of a lighter, and then this is dark sweet sorbet. Yeah, you can mix and match. Totally doesn't matter. You see me do that all the time. Okay, so that's it. That's all I did. And I took my Lost Lagoon. I did some flicking. And then my Wink. Oh, you know what? I'm glad I tested that because that still had that kind of yellowy, orangey, reddish from that fall card. So I'm going to get that squeezed out. I don't want much on here. And just add a little bit to the leaves. You will need to let that dry. It takes just a couple minutes for that to dry. So we'll use the dry one to assemble the card. But that's it. Quick and easy. And let me set it aside so I don't put my hand in it. And then we'll just assemble this. So, excuse my reach. I had come on, wake up. So I decided to use a white panel to kind of break up the Lost Lagoon. So between the base card and this Lost Lagoon plaid, what is this called? Tartan foil. I always want to call it tartan plaid. It's called tartan foil. This is an online exclusive, so you won't see it in the catalog. But I wanted to kind of break up and give that that white border. So I did that and added the white. This is just the other side. And then, you know, I love my little bucket of foam adhesive strips, foam adhesive pieces. They're just my favorite thing. instead of 9,000 million billion dimensionals. Just my deal. That's how I roll. Add that. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and use this just because I love this ribbon. I think it's gorgeous, but I'll show you. I also used the, let me get the exact name of this. Oh, you know what? I don't think I can get to it. Oh, I can't. Wait, yes I can. It is called Iridescent Ribbon. Well, maybe I'll use this one. Let's use this one because this goes really well just because of all the glitter. It's not really glittery. It's just the iridescentness is so beautiful. So let's use that one. We'll use it. And then I also use the Lost Lagoon ribbon. And this one, I thought I was going to love this more than I do. This is the black and white gingham, and I used my Stampin' Blend to color it. And I don't know, I thought I was going to super love that. I like it, but it's not my favorite of all of them, so I didn't do it again. But you can't really go wrong, can you? Can you go wrong with any of these? They're all, I think, gorgeous. Do you have a favorite of any of these ribbons? Now that we kind of went through them. Just curious. I like to give my ribbon like a really good pull. I think that gives the bow a really nice shape. So I tie it really tight so that really cinches down. And then on the inside, I'm going to do a white layer so that you can write or stamp inside, because that Lost Lagoon I think is a little dark for writing. And then I had, because of cutting this, I had a whole bunch of strips that are 3/4 of an inch. So I was like, well, those aren't going in the recycle bin. Look at that. Look how cute that is. Just put a little strip on the inside. And then my little greeting, I have a dimensional on one side, and I'm going to put adhesive, you can do any adhesive, on the other, and tuck that under the knot so that that side will stay down and this side is raised up. And then we have to do the sneak attack of one glue dot under the bow just to keep that down. And that's that. Very simple card. Kind of just a bonus for today because we're talking more about Wink of Stella, but I hope you enjoyed all of these ideas for using Wink of Stella on your projects. I'd love to know if you learned something new today, or if you liked something in particular, or just curious. Give me a heart or a thumbs up. Oh, thank you, Susan. She said all of the cards are pretty. Gay loves the elegant cards. Holly says very pretty. You like the sheer ribbon? Yep. The glitter edge? Yep. Okay. Sheer ribbon? Yep. Okay, here's a question. Debbie says, you are the only crafter I've seen put glue on the big piece when you're adhering a panel. Is there an advantage? Okay, so let me address that, because that is like a fascinating question. And I'll tell you why I did that. And so what she's referring to is like, why didn't I put the glue here and set it down? Normally, I would. Normally, I do put the glue on the piece and set it down. Because I had made so many of these, and I knew exactly where that white layer was going, I knew where this layer was going, I felt comfortable putting the adhesive here and adding the piece on top. But normally, Debbie, you're right. I would not do it that way because you don't want to put glue here and then set this down and you have glue right over here. And then you're like, oh no. So normally I would put glue on the other piece and on the piece that's in my hand and then stick it down. So no, there really wasn't an advantage or anything. It's just that I knew how the card was going to go together and I was comfortable with layering it. So yeah, it was a subconscious thing. Oh, Robin says, do you have to let the blends dry before applying Wink of Stella? The blends dry in split second. The blends are like basically dry because they're alcohol based. So by the time I'm done coloring that, you saw I just went right to the Wink of Stella and it was fine. You don't have to have any additional drying time. Glenda says, do your thing. We'll wait and watch. You're so sweet. Thank you. Oh, Christine, thank you. She says she loves to see me color. Mary wants to. Okay, I'm glad I did the coloring. Thank you all. You're so sweet. Is the leaf card cinnamon cider? No, I don't have cinnamon cider because that is retired. So are you asking about this leaf right here? This might surprise you, is actually cherry cobbler and wild wheat. I used my blending brush and blended the two colors. And this is actually peacock and olive blended together. Yeah. I know. I love to come up with combinations. Yep. Let's see. Any other questions? Hang out with me a minute while I catch these other questions. You're welcome, Susan. I am so glad that you learned something. Jane says, yes, learned something. Thanks, Janet. How are you? I didn't see you on here. Thank you, Esther. Oh, I'm glad you liked it on the watercolor paper, Esther. Practice, practice, practice. Yes, yes, that too, Debbie. Exactly. Oh, this card. Sorry. Are you talking about the mountains? Wait, maybe, hang on. Maybe I'm not. Let me go back and find your question. Now I can't find your question. Lisa, if you're asking about this card, no, I mentioned that this is my blending brush and pecan pie ink that I added. So that, maybe you didn't see the die cutting with those mountains, but maybe, is that what you're asking about? The brown cardstock. Okay, I am so sorry. Yeah, I mentioned this is the pecan pie. So this is all pecan pie. Cardstock, the flicking, and the wrinkling. Pecan pie. Sorry, I was so confused. I'm so sorry, y'all. Sometimes I wish I could just hear you talking. Wouldn't that be easier? But that also might get a little crazy to hear 100 people talking and asking questions. So this is a good way to do it. I'm glad I can answer your questions. All right. Well, I hope that helps you with Wink of Stella. Reminder to take out the black, shake it well, squeeze it on a scrap paper, all those things that we talked about. There are instructions in there, but you know who reads instructions, right? So I'm hoping that those tips were helpful, and I hope you enjoyed the ideas. Please check back on pattystamps.com tomorrow and the next day, and I will have pictures of these cards there for you so that you can pin them on Pinterest or print them out or whatever you need to do. The green wrinkled card. Sorry, I'm not sure which one that is. Oh, Gay just, yeah, I saw your order. Thank you so much, Gay. Thank you. I'm glad you got more. All right, Christine, enjoy your breakfast. Oh, Lisa, you're so sweet. She said this was the best live. You're so sweet. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining. I will see you next week. I think we're going to play with some new products next week that are coming out on the next online exclusive release. At least that's my plan. I will see you all later. Have a wonderful weekend. And thank you as always for your orders and your support of my business. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.